The room went quiet the second the words left my mother's mouth. "From today forward," she said, her voice calm and precise, "we have 2 children, not 3. The silverware around the table stopped moving. Someone at the next table coughed awkwardly. My brother stared down at his plate like the answer to the universe was hiding inside the chocolate mousse. My sister checked her phone, pretending nothing unusual had happened. But everyone in the restaurant had heard, including me. I sat there for a moment, hands folded on the white tablecloth, feeling strangely calm. 34 years of life had led to this exact sentence. I just hadn't expected it to be spoken so publicly. Across from me, my father cleared his throat. He didn't disagree. He didn't defend me. He simply lifted his wineglass and took a slow sip like this was a minor family disagreement, not a public disowning, not the end of something. I looked around the table. 8 family members sat around a table meant for 12. The empty chairs felt like quiet witnesses to a family that had slowly learned how to leave space between each other. The air smelled like truffle butter and expensive wine. It was supposed to be my father's 60th birthday dinner. Instead, it had turned into something else, something final. My mother leaned slightly forward, her eyes sharp and cold. "You've made your choices, Sophia," she said. "Now we're making ours." Her voice carried across the room. A few nearby tables had gone quiet. The waiter beside us suddenly became very interested in refilling someone's water glass. My older brother shifted in his chair. "Mom, maybe this isn't the place." "It's exactly the place," she replied calmly. Then she looked straight at me. "If you walk out of this restaurant tonight, don't come back." The words didn't feel emotional. They felt deliberate, like they had been waiting for the right moment. My sister finally looked up from her phone, her expression uneasy but silent. No one defended me. No one asked my side. I felt dozens of eyes slowly drifting toward our table, waiters slowing down, conversations fading, people pretending not to listen, but they were. Families unraveling in public always attract attention. I should have felt embarrassed, angry, maybe even desperate to prove them wrong. Instead, I felt something else. A strange kind of clarity, the kind that comes when something you quietly feared for years finally happened. I stood slowly. My chair scraped softly across the polished floor. My mother watched me carefully. She expected something, an apology, an argument, maybe tears, but none of those came. I reached for my coat instead. "I understand," I said quietly. My father finally looked at me. "You should think about this carefully," he said. His tone was calm, reasonable, like this conversation was about bad decisions or life advice, not about removing a daughter from the family. I nodded once. "Oh, I have." I stepped away from the table. Behind me, my mother's voice followed. "If you leave," she said, louder now, "you're no longer part of this family." I stopped for half a second, not long enough for anyone to think I was reconsidering, just long enough to take one slow breath. Then I kept walking toward the restaurant entrance. The marble floor echoed softly under my heels. The host near the door looked uncertain, like he wasn't sure if he should pretend nothing had happened or call someone. My hand reached for the brass door handle. Behind me, my mother spoke one last time. "If she walks out, she's dead to us." The words hung in the air, cold, final. I opened the door and stepped outside into the cool night air. The noise of the city rushed back immediately. Cars passing, distant sirens, wind between buildings. I exhaled slowly. That's when a black car pulled quietly to the curb in front of the restaurant. A tall man stepped out. Dark suit, earpiece, calm, professional posture. He approached me like this moment had been scheduled hours ago. "Ms. Williams," he said respectfully. "Your flight crew is ready whenever you are." Behind the restaurant door, someone had followed me outside, someone from my family. And when they heard those words, I realized something. Tonight wasn't the end of the story. It was the moment everything they believed about me was about to fall apart. I heard the restaurant door open behind me. Slowly. Carefully. The kind of movement people make when they're trying to see something without being noticed. I didn't turn around immediately. Marcus didn't react either. He simply stood there, calm and patient, like he'd done this 1,000 times before. "Car is ready," he said quietly. "We can leave whenever you'd like." I nodded once. But before I could respond, I heard a familiar voice behind me. "Sophia?" It was my brother. Daniel stood in the doorway of the restaurant, half inside, half outside, his expression somewhere between confusion and suspicion. He glanced at Marcus first, then at the black sedan parked by the curb, then back at me. "Who is that?" he asked. His tone wasn't angry, just puzzled. Marcus didn't say anything. He simply stepped half a pace back, giving me space. I slipped my coat on slowly. "A driver," I said. Daniel frowned. "You don't have a driver." "That's true, but it's convenient tonight." He looked toward the car again. It wasn't flashy, just a quiet, expensive vehicle waiting with its engine running. Inside the restaurant, I could still hear voices, my mother's voice most of all, sharp, certain, telling the rest of the table she had corrected a long-standing problem. Daniel shifted his weight. "You could still come back in," he said. "No," I replied quietly. "Mom didn't mean it like that." I raised an eyebrow slightly. "She said I was dead to the family." Daniel sighed. "You know how she is." Yes, I did know. That was exactly the problem. Marcus glanced at his watch politely. "We should depart soon," he said softly. Daniel looked at him again. Something about Marcus clearly unsettled him. "Depart where?" he asked. Marcus didn't answer. That wasn't his job. I stepped toward the car. Daniel spoke again. "Wait, when did you start living like this?" The question almost made me smile. Living like this. If only he knew. But tonight wasn't the night for explanations. "Good night, Daniel," I said. He stared at me, then at the car, then back at the restaurant behind him. Something about the situation wasn't adding up for him. Not yet, but the cracks had started. Marcus opened the back door of the car. As I stepped inside, I heard Daniel say my name again. "Sophia." I looked back one last time. "Yes?" He hesitated. "What exactly do you do?" The same question the family had asked at the table, the same question they had laughed about minutes earlier. "You never really wanted to know," I said. Then I closed the car door. The sedan pulled away quietly. Through the tinted window, I watched the restaurant grow smaller behind us. Inside that building, my family still believed they understood my life. They believed I was struggling, lost, embarrassing, the daughter who never figured things out. What they didn't know was that tonight's dinner had happened in the wrong place. Half the people inside that restaurant already knew exactly who I was, and it wouldn't take long before someone said it out loud. When that happened, my family's version of the story would start collapsing right there at the table. Later, I would hear the story of what happened after my car pulled away. Not from gossip websites, not from reporters, but from someone who had been standing a few feet away from my family's table the entire night, the sommelier. According to him, the moment the restaurant doors closed behind me, the atmosphere at the table shifted. My mother sat back in her chair with the quiet satisfaction of someone who believed she had just corrected a long-standing problem. "Well," she said calmly, picking up her wine glass again, That was unpleasant, but necessary. No one answered immediately. My father stared into his glass. Daniel returned slowly to the table, his expression still unsettled. Emily leaned forward slightly. "Did she leave?" she asked. Daniel nodded. "She got into a car." My mother gave a small, dismissive wave. "I'm sure she did." "It wasn't a normal car," Daniel said. "Oh, Daniel, please, don't tell me she's pretending to be important again." "She had a driver," he said. Emily laughed softly. "A driver?" "Yes," Daniel replied, "and security." My mother's smile thinned. "People rent cars for appearances all the time. That doesn't mean anything." Daniel didn't argue, but he didn't look convinced either. The sommelier approached carefully. "Excuse me, would you like to continue with dessert, sir?" My father looked up. "Yes, but thank you for your discretion." Then he added quietly, "But someone recognized her, I think." The sommelier hesitated, then said, "I hope you don't mind me asking, was the woman who just left Ms. Sophia Williams?" My mother frowned. "Yes, why?" "I thought she might be the Sophia Williams who was in the news last week," he said carefully. Silence fell. "She made the donation anonymously, a $50 million pediatric wing. The story was confirmed this morning." My father set his glass down slowly. "That can't be the same person. She looks exactly like the photos," the sommelier said. Daniel leaned forward. "What photos?" The sommelier pulled his phone from his pocket. He hesitated, then turned it toward the table. The headline was simple but undeniable. "Tech founder Sophia Williams announces $50 million children's hospital expansion." Under the headline was a large, clear photo. Me. My mother blinked. "That's not—" It was. The same face that had sat across from her 5 minutes earlier. The same daughter she had just declared dead to the family. Emily laughed nervously. "That can't be her." "She is," the sommelier said firmly. Daniel took the phone from the sommelier and stared at the screen. His expression changed slowly, confusion giving way to disbelief. Emily leaned closer. "What?" Daniel didn't answer. He turned the phone toward the rest of the table. My mother leaned closer. My father adjusted his glasses. And then they saw the headline. Tech founder Sophia Williams announces $50 million children's hospital expansion. Under the headline were photos, professional, confident, unmistakably me. My mother's lips pressed together. This must be a mistake. Daniel scrolled through the article. Net worth estimated at $3.2 billion, Emily whispered. The number hung in the air like something unreal. My father stared at the phone. Impossible. Daniel kept scrolling. Conferences, government meetings, magazine covers, international offices, educational software used worldwide. My mother's chair creaked as she leaned back. This doesn't prove anything. It does, the sommelier said quietly. She has been in the news. People know who she is. Daniel pointed at a line in the article. Sophia Williams, 34, rarely speaks publicly about her personal life, but keeps a low profile despite her growing influence in technology. 34. The exact same age. The same name. The same face. My father looked toward the restaurant doors. She just left, he said quietly. Emily whispered, with a driver. Daniel added, and security. My phone started vibrating before the car even reached the end of the street. Once, twice, then again. Mom calling. I turned the phone face down. Marcus, calm as ever, spoke quietly to the driver. He didn't look back. People in his line of work know which moments require silence. The phone buzzed again. Then again. Daniel calling. Emily. More texts. By the time we reached the highway, there were 12 missed calls and 3 voicemails. I still hadn't listened to any of them. Marcus glanced at me. "We'll arrive at the helipad in about 10 minutes. "Thank you," I said. The phone buzzed again. Another text. "Sophia, call me immediately. This is important." I smiled faintly. 20 minutes ago, nothing about my life had seemed important to them, and suddenly, it was. The car slowed into a private entrance beside a quiet rooftop structure. The helicopter waited, its rotors moving slowly, sending faint waves of wind across the concrete. Another text. 27 missed calls. From Daniel. "Is that article about you real?" I typed a single, deliberate reply. "Yes." Across the city, inside the restaurant, Daniel read it, and the story became real for them. Daniel held the phone as the table watched. My mother stood, arms folded, tense. Emily leaned in. My father had stopped pretending to study the wine list. "What did she say?" my mother demanded. Daniel read it aloud, slowly. One word. "Yes." The confirmation landed on the table like a hammer. No denial, no explanation, just affirmation. My father leaned back. "How long?" Daniel shrugged. "She lied to us." "No," Daniel corrected. "She builds software for companies." "That's technically true." The room fell silent. Outside diners began noticing the tension. Waiters moved carefully. Energy around the table shifted. The sommelier approached again. "Would you still like dessert, sir?" "No," my father said finally. "I think we're finished here." Emily whispered, "She just left." Daniel nodded. "With a driver and security." My mother's voice sharpened. "We need to fix this." Daniel shook his head. "She's not answering." "She will," my mother said, certain. But by that moment, the story had already spread. Half the city knew what had happened at the dinner table. The helicopter lifted off. City lights shrank beneath us, peaceful and quiet, while chaos erupted elsewhere. Marcus glanced at the tablet. "Smooth flight tonight." I opened my father's message. "Sophia, I think we misunderstood some things last night. Mom was emotional. We didn't realize what you had built. I'm proud of you. Please call me when you can." I locked the phone without replying. Distance mattered. Daniel texted again. "Reporters are calling. How did they find out?" I opened the news app. Headline: Billionaire tech founder Sophia Williams spotted leaving family dinner after heated dispute. The article included a photo, me walking to the car, Marcus behind me. Daniel: "Mom's charity board just called. They want an explanation. Dad's company is asking questions." Family reputation had always mattered. Now the world was asking questions they couldn't answer. The helicopter descended toward my estate. 40 acres of quiet coastline. Marcus opened the door for me. Another text from Daniel. "I'm coming in the morning. We need to talk." Daniel arrived earlier than expected. Marcus informed me just after 8. "There's a vehicle at the front gate," he said. "Driver says Daniel Williams." I looked out through tall windows. Morning light stretched across the ocean. Everything felt quiet. "Let him in," I said. 10 minutes later, Daniel walked in. He stopped inside the doorway, just looking around like he'd stepped into the wrong world. "Jesus, Sophia," he said quietly. I gestured toward the chair across from my desk. "Good morning, Daniel." He walked in slowly, sat down, eyes scanning the room. "You live here?" "Yes, 3 years." Daniel exhaled. "We had no idea." "You never asked," I said. He rubbed his face. We had no clue about your life. The dinner, the article, it's all unreal. I remained calm. You never asked. After a moment, he asked, How long have you been this successful? 15 years. Daniel's shoulders dropped. All this while we were sitting at dinners like last night? Yes. Daniel, I think we owe you an apology. I didn't respond. Apologies required understanding first. Finally, Daniel hesitated. Mom is coming too. Unlike him, she wasn't coming to apologize. She believed something belonged to her. My mother arrived at sunset. Golden light spilled across the ocean. She stepped inside, confident yet slightly off balance, scanning everything. Hello, Sophia, she said formally. I didn't rise. Daniel lingered behind her, glancing apologetically. I came to talk, to explain. You embarrassed me last night. You embarrassed the family. I didn't. You did, I replied calmly. Her eyes flicked sharply. This is about respect, behaving like a member of this family. Behaving according to whose definition? I asked. She hesitated. We didn't realize. That's the problem. You judged. You decided my life wasn't acceptable. Then you tried to erase me from it. Daniel, Mom, maybe we should just listen. She softened slightly. I want to understand. Seeing isn't understanding, I said. Understanding takes time. She nodded slowly. I want to try. And if I do, I asked carefully, does it change the past? No, but I want to try. Try, I repeated. Daniel, one step at a time. Sunday dinner. She echoed it. One step at a time. For the first time in years, there was real possibility. Not forgiveness, not trust, but a start. Months passed. Sunday dinners became a rhythm, cautious and deliberate. My mother volunteered at my nonprofit. Dad attended my talks. Derek and Melissa sought advice. It wasn't perfect. Family never is. But the table now held conversation, debate, and mutual respect. I often thought of that restaurant dinner, the cold proclamation, the humiliation. It had shown me exactly who I was and who I wasn't willing to be. The real power wasn't confrontation. It was living fully in ways they hadn't anticipated. 1 year later, at a charity gala in New York, I was introduced to a room full of donors. Please welcome Sophia Williams, a woman whose vision is shaping the future of education and technology. I looked toward the back. My mother stood there, smiling, not apologetic, not defensive, just present. For the first time, I was seen, not as a disappointment, not as a secret, but as myself. The quietest, sharpest revenge of all, living a life fully so those who doubted you are left watching, quietly realizing they were wrong. I allowed myself a small, private smile. They had seen me, not the version they wanted, but the one who had always existed. And that was enough.